knows a lot about the science stuff. Professor Dave explains.
Continuing with our investigation of the birds, let's check out their body systems next. Like mammals and reptiles, birds also have 11 body systems, or organ systems. The circulatory system, respiratory system, digestive system, nervous system, endocrine system, muscular system, skeletal system, integumentary system, urinary system, reproductive system, and the immune or lymphatic system. Note that in the birds, nearly all of these systems have been highly modified for flight. So let's get started with the system that certainly has been highly adapted for flight, the avian circulatory system, which at first glance is very similar to the mammalian and crocodilian circulatory systems in that they both involve a four-chambered heart that distinctly separates oxygenated and deoxygenated blood and has two pathways: the pulmonary or respiratory circuit, a short loop from the heart to the lungs and back again, and the systemic circuit that carries nucleated red blood cells from the heart to all the other parts of the body and back again. However, unlike the mammalian heart, the right aortic arch, instead of the left, leads to the dorsal aorta. The two jugular veins in the neck are connected by a cross vein, and the brachial and pectoral arteries to the wings and breasts are unusually large due to how essential these muscles are for flight. Their heartbeats are also extremely fast and beat faster in smaller rather than larger species. For example, a turkey's heart beats about 93 times a minute, while a chickadee's heart beats up to 1,000 times a minute when under stress. The respiratory system of birds has also been highly adapted for flight, but unlike the circulatory system, it differs radically from that of the mammals and the crocodilians. In addition to lungs, birds have a system of air sacs connected to their lungs, and for a single breath of air to enter and exit the body, it actually takes 4 steps. During the first breath in, air is directed into the posterior air sacs, and during the first breath out, as another pocket of air leaves the body, this initial breath passes through the lungs, where the thin-walled bronchi that terminate in numerous tube-like parabronchi, which differ from the sac-like alveoli of the mammals, allow oxygen into the blood and release carbon dioxide. Then, during a second breath in, the air we've been following moves into the anterior air sac, and after a second breath out, it exits the body. So this unidirectional airflow, coupled with the highly efficient parabronchi of the lungs, ensures a constant supply of oxygen. And in addition, these air sacs actually have numerous diverticula that extend into a bird's hollow or pneumatic bones, which fill with warmed air, since birds are ectotherms, thus providing additional buoyancy. Next up, since flying requires a great deal of energy, a bird's digestive system has adapted to provide for high metabolisms and high energy needs. Flying is such an energy-intensive activity that birds must process their food rapidly to provide energy. For example, a shrike can digest a mouse in 3 hours, and berries can be completely digested by thrushes in less than 30 minutes. Compare that to a cat, where total digestion of a single meal often takes around 20 hours, or that of the crocodilian, which may take days. As a clade, birds get their food from many sources, and their beaks vary widely according to diet. Compare some of the wide range of bird beaks, and you'll see thick hooked beaks for tearing flesh, small thin beaks for precisely plucking insects out of the air, long curved beaks for extracting nectar, as almost 1/5 of all bird species feed on nectar alone, and many others. Food that passes through the beak moves down the esophagus to the crop, where it is stored and softened. Interestingly, in pigeons, doves, and some parrots, this organ also produces a nutrient-rich fluid that is made of epithelial cells, sometimes called pigeon milk, that both parents produce and feed to their offspring. After the crop, food then enters the stomach that consists of the proventriculus, which secretes gastric juice, and the muscular gizzard that has a keratinized lining and helps to grind up food, thus serving a similar function to mammalian teeth. After which it passes to the small intestine, which is paired with the cecum, a fermentation structure that is well developed in herbivorous species, colon, large intestine, and cloaca. A bird's nervous system is also highly adapted for flight, and it appears to be morphologically similar to a mammal's brain, except that the cerebral cortex is thin and poorly developed in birds, which drew researchers long ago to assume that birds were less intelligent than mammals, hence the term bird brain as an insult. However, it turns out that the dorsal ventricular ridge has enlarged into the principal integrative center, and other parts of the avian brain are significantly well developed, such as the cerebral hemispheres, cerebellum, and optic lobes. Interestingly, unlike their reptilian relatives, senses of smell and taste are often poorly developed in many birds, though well developed in some, such as the vultures, many flightless birds, and waterfowl, and instead many birds use their well-developed eyes that are larger, less spherical, and less mobile than other vertebrates, and ears for navigating their environments. The avian endocrine system releases hormones that regulate metabolism, growth, and various physiological processes, such as maintaining a consistent internal temperature. It is comparable to that of mammals and primarily consists of 8 glands: the pituitary hypothalamus complex, the gonads, pancreatic islets, adrenal glands, thyroid glands, parathyroid glands, ultimobranchial glands, and the endocrine cells of the gut. Like many avian body systems, the muscular system is uniquely adapted for flight in that the locomotor muscles of the wings are relatively massive, the largest of which is the pectoralis that depresses the wings in flight, and its antagonist is the supracoracoideus that raises the wing. These, combined with the main leg muscle mass in the thigh, places more muscle mass near a bird's center of gravity and allows for greater agility. However, greater muscle mass does not equal greater flight, as is exemplified by the domesticated chicken that has been bred to have such large locomotor and leg muscles that they are no longer capable of flight. In addition to muscles adapted to flight, many birds also have a tendon locking mechanism which, when activated, prevents the bird from falling off a branch when asleep, or automatically allows the talons of hawk or owl to sink deep into its prey as the legs bend under the impact of a strike. The avian skeletal system, to which their muscular system attaches and interacts, is noted for its hollow, compact bones, also known as pneumatic or pneumatized bones, which are propped up internally by struts that developed as an adaptation for flight, though their leg bones are often heavier and thus lower the bird's center of gravity, which improves aerodynamic stability. In addition to their bone structure, their morphology also differs from other vertebrates in that their forelimbs are highly adapted for flight. They are elongated, slender, reduced in number, and several are fused together, though it is still a clear rearrangement of the basic vertebrate tetrapod limb from which it evolved. Other distinctive skeletal features include the rigid vertebral column that is largely fused together, except for the cervical or neck vertebrae. The caudal vertebrae are fused into a pygostyle, and the sternum includes a long, thin keel called a carina, from which the powerful locomotor muscles of the wings attach. Next up, like the skeletal system, the avian integumentary system is also unique among extant vertebrates because it includes feathers, structures found on no other living animal. Most of a bird's feathers are contour feathers, also known as pennaceous feathers, that are comprised of a hollow quill or calamus that emerge from a skin follicle and shaft or rachis, which is a continuation of the quill and bears numerous barbs that are arranged in parallel and in turn contain numerous parallel barbules. The flat, expansive, webbed surface they form is called a vein. Where a single rachis may bear hundreds of barbs, a single barb may bear 600 barbules on each side, meaning a single feather often contains more than 1 million overlapping barbules that are held together by tiny hooks that can be zipped back together if they separate. Depending on where they are located on the bird, they may also be called tail feathers or wing or flight feathers, but their basic structure is the same, though the wing feathers are noticeably asymmetrical, windproof, and less flexible, while the tail feathers are used for steering in flight and often come in pairs of 6, with varying degrees of asymmetry and showiness. These feathers are in contrast with the plumulaceous or down feathers, which are soft, short, and used for insulation, along with the semi-plume feathers with which they are often grouped. Two last feather types which are often grouped together are the simple phyloplumes that are used as sensory structures, and the bristles which are commonly found on the head and may offer some protection to the eyes and face. Next, like other reptiles, a bird's urinary or excretory system removes cellular waste and excretes nitrogenous wastes as uric acid. This uric acid is then concentrated within the cloaca, where it is combined with fecal matter and the water is reabsorbed. The two materials, uric acid and fecal material, are then excreted together from the cloaca, hence the characteristic look of bird droppings, where the white part is the uric acid. The avian reproductive system is similar to that of other reptiles, in that it terminates in the cloaca and is internal in many species. But unlike the other reptiles, most male birds lack a penis, and in many females, only the left ovary and oviduct develop, while those on the right dwindle to vestigial structures. Interestingly, the male testes are tiny for most of the year, and enlarge greatly during the breeding season, growing up to 300 times their non-breeding size. In the waterfowl, this enlargement is accompanied by the growth of the penis, that lasts only for a breeding season before falling off. Like other reptiles, the immune or lymphatic system of the birds is better adapted to innate responses rather than adaptive ones. As such, their phagocytes, mobile amoeboid cells, are particularly efficient in repairing wounds and destroying invading microbes. However, they are capable of adaptive responses and have lymphoid tissues, B cells, T cells, cytokines, and chemokines. And they also appear to be capable of transferring immunity materially through the passive acquisition of maternal antibodies. And that wraps up the avian body systems, but we're not done with the birds yet. We still have a lot to cover regarding their taxonomy, so let's move forward and delve a bit further into their classification and explore avian diversity. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to my channel for more tutorials. Support me on Patreon so I can keep making content. And as always, feel free to email me, ProfessorDaveExplains@gmail.com.